Welcome to this week's installment of Reading with Robin, your number one destination since 2002 for insightful author interviews and discussions on everything literary. And with no further introduction, your host, Robin Call.
Welcome to the Reading with Robin podcast. My guest today, and the book is just out, is Marisa Meltzer. Her book, This is Big, How the Founder of Weight Watchers Changed the World and Me, is just out today. I had the pleasure of attending the most fabulous luncheon from Little Brown last fall, which feels like, I don't know, a gazillion years ago. And when I saw this book, there was one on the table for us, but I had seen it elsewhere and snuck an extra copy just in case I wasn't getting one because I was like, this is my kind of book. And I'm thrilled to have Marisa on today. She's a journalist based in New York who has contributed to the New York Times, the New Yorker, New York, the Guardian, Vanity Fair, and Vogue. She was born in Northern California and is the author of two previous books, How Sassy Changed My Life and Girl Power. Marisa lives in Brooklyn, her sweet pup Joan by her side, and welcome to Reading with Robin, Marisa.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Joan is wandering around my apartment as you speak.
Now, when you call her name or you reference her, does she just show up and expect like a treat for doing so, or does she just be like, oh, Marissa's calling, Mom's calling me?
Yeah, she's just like, hey, you know, she's casual. She's very like, she's casual, but also thinks the world revolves around her. So, like, of course I would be saying her name or thinking about her or something. The more and more in quarantine we get, the more kind of weirdly demanding she is. And yeah.
That's so funny. I know. Well, when Benny, if we don't call Benny by name or we just say him, he responds to the pronouns too. So, and there could be another him, but he thinks him is him, and it usually is. So,
wow.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Marissa and I were chatting a little before we started about the difference in their time and in their world and in the quarantine. And I think dogs are definitely #winning. If anybody's winning right now, it would be dogs and they're people, because I can't imagine not having Benny here in quarantine with us. I just can't.
Oh, I mean, and I live alone, and it would be it's sort of quite solitary and can be sort of scary and lonely at times, and it would be so much worse without just another, living being by my side. I think I would get, I have a lot of plants, and I think I would maybe get really even more attached to them or something, yeah.
Right? Feel the need to actually keep them alive. Well, I know when we first started ordering things and worrying about things or, being concerned, I was like, is Chewy all set? As long as Benny has his food.
Oh, I know.
Right?
I ordered 50 pounds of her overpriced prescription dog food. Yeah.
That's so funny. How long does that last?
Up.
Yeah.
It lasts a long time.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I think at the beginning of this, we were like good for several months, and then last week I was like, just order 2 more big bags, please, because it was on some kind of auto ship, and then I didn't trust it. I don't trust anything. And so then I'm like, and we need more chew things or bones or like busy bones or whatever you want to call them. But that was almost, after toilet paper, or maybe before, I'm not sure, came what Benny needs. What does Benny need? And I wasn't kidding. I remember that the luncheon, and they did have books for us at all of our spaces, but when I first walked in, there were some piles, and I saw this book, and I was just transfixed, because certainly as a person who grew up around all of this, and it speaks very loudly to me, I felt
in what way,
connected.
Like as a dieter, or had you done Weight Watchers, or
as in every way that you could have written in the book, and I I could go one crazy, and not to top. I'm just older, so I have more crazy. But as a weight, I mean, I can't even remember how many times we joined. When I say we, like I had best friends, like the dieting friends and college friends, and all of the little things we would do. I couldn't keep track of the points and the tracker, and then they changed. But just being so connected to food being such a focus at such an early age, and revolving around that. So I connected to, I love the way you wove your story into Jean Nidetch. I was always fascinated by her and what she created, and just being so far ahead of her time in a lot of ways. So the book is just full of heart and humor and just such accurate description, and emotion is so vivid and relatable. And I think it's a great book club pick on top of that. So,
so I know Little Brown has book club questions available.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. Online, and I think in their book club newsletter, and they're good.
They do a great job. And also I think the book clubs are looking for, firstly, a lot of book clubs are doing more than one a month because for the obvious reasons.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I've been getting messages from people like, and this is so funny, our book club normally only has one book a month. Do you think it's okay? Like, well, if you need my permission, hey, I'll give it to you. But they're also looking to mix things up. And, if they've always done a lot of historical fiction or whatever, I'm always suggesting memoir or nonfiction or have a different kind of discussion. And everybody, I don't really know anybody, very few people that wouldn't relate in some way. I don't think I would go so far as to say nobody. Or if they say that, then I would say they're a liar. That's what I would say. I'd say this book
book clubs often do fiction, but I really did want to write a nonfiction book that is kind of as readable and
such narrative. Yes,
and something where you are kind of on the edge of your seat, and all of the fat, if you will, was kind of trimmed away for just a really a book that's smart and interesting and a full biography, but also isn't boring and is immersive and really takes you to the 1960s.
Oh yeah, and You Button are none of those things. Wasn't that in Legally Blonde about being boring? And You Kitten, or is it You Kitten? They're none of those things. Yeah, this book is not boring, and the narrative is just so compelling, and it's just my kind of book. So the Reading with Robin gang, who always wants to know about another pick, and people that also are not in book clubs, but I just love suggesting nonfiction. We're at creative nonfiction for book clubs. And visit marisameltzer.com for more information, and find her on Twitter and Instagram, right? Those are your places. And you can see Joan, too, if you go to Instagram on the page.
Yeah, and they're all just Marisa Meltzer. My full name is one word. And
which is smart.
I try to keep everything updated.
Yeah, well, you're very smart. I have some updating to do. Thank you for the reminder. I keep needing to do that. So where does this book start for you, and how did you get this idea to research Jean Nidetch and weave it into your own story so personally?
I read Jean's obituary almost exactly 5 years ago in the New York Times, and I had never realized that anyone was behind Weight Watchers. The headline of the obituary mentioned founder of Weight Watchers, and I just always thought Weight Watchers had just kind of existed as a diet corporation. I didn't know there was any kind of personal story behind it. And so I read this obituary and was really intrigued that there was this female founder story that had been kind of lost to time. And it was an era that we're still very much in, where we're so interested in these kinds of stories of women who have been pushed from the spotlight. Hidden Figures, I think, is a good example. And the fact that Weight Watchers had one that was, totally authentic, that a woman had founded the company, a woman in the middle of her life had lost weight. She was a working class housewife from Brooklyn who lost the weight and taught her friends the diet, and it kind of organically grew and grew and grew into this, giant corporation. It's still the largest weight loss, diet company in the world. And that was really shocking to me and intriguing. And at the same time, I don't know, maybe narcissistically, I instantly felt my own story tied to her, because I had been on and off diets my whole life. My parents put me on my first diet. I don't even know how old I was, probably like 4 or 5. I don't really remember.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember a life without dieting, and I definitely have never really been able to probably form a super healthy relationship to food, whatever that is, and have always felt kind of like a failure. Like it's just one part of my life that I've never really been able to get a hold of, or, you know, I can lose weight and then I gain it back, and kind of just feeling like what was wrong with me, and also what was wrong with me that I couldn't just accept myself as I was. We're in this feminist moment of body acceptance, and even though I am also a lifelong feminist, I could never really get behind that. And so I felt like I was failing on all of these different levels. And so immediately just the idea kind of clicked for me that it was not just going to be a biography of Jean, but it was also going to be sort of my own reckoning with a lifetime of dieting, and kind of how what Jean created got us to where we are as a culture now.
Oh, it's so fascinating, and like everything you just said, I was like, yep. And the thing that's and
that's the thing, like weight it's so, you know, it's such a common issue, and you know, there's this moment in the book. It seems so simple, but I was at Soul Cycle. There was a Soul Cycle above where the Weight Watchers meeting that I often went to was, and you know, I'd go before often, and I just remember being there, and it was 8 a.m. on a Sunday, and as always, I was probably like the fattest person in the room, and I thought, oh, you know, this body stuff is everyone here's issue, because no one is probably here at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning just because they love exercise, you know, like
there's a few of those evil people, but not too many.
Sure, and you know, like I also like exercise, and you know, but if you're going to take some kind of like European approach, you know, like you're probably not going to be there really early on a Sunday at Soul Cycle. You're probably going to be taking like
they're
long
addicts
walks
in their own way. Yeah, and I think
so. Yeah, it's like it's something that everyone worries about, and it's something that everyone deals with. Whether, you know, you wear a size 4 or a size 14 or a size 24 or above that.
It is a constant. It's interesting because I often wonder, like you say, you were 4 or 5 when you became aware of that. I was about 8 or 9, and so whatever the age, like to become aware of food at such a young age, and with the feminist, you know, the more and more of what we've try to incorporate and really grab hold of, and I believe in much of it, and certainly as a feminist, and what we want to teach the next generations. I see a lot has really not changed. And I remember being at a friend's house, and the girls were young, you know, the next generation, 10, 12, whatever, and one of the mothers, who's a friend, was like commenting on one of the kids in her bathing suit, and the kid was 10 or 11. I'm like, oh my God, don't do this to them. They're, you know, like, let them be kids. I was horrified, and I, you know, maybe other people didn't think of it the same way I did because I was so aware of it, but just being so aware of your body at 8 or 9, and then I wonder, of course, you know, if not made to be so, you know, I look at pictures, and I certainly really wasn't a heavy kid at all, but maybe I was more focused on. I look at pictures, and I, you know, baby fat, a little chubby, but probably would have grown out of it, you know. Yes, and I wonder, exactly, if the focus wasn't on there, or the realization that you think your child is a little bit more focused than another kid or whatever. I know you don't have siblings. I have 2 sisters, so in comparison, maybe I was more, well, I am and still am more focused, but like, you know, chicken, egg. So you get past that. But I do wonder, left to my own devices, what would that journey have looked like? So everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because also you don't live in a vacuum. So I think the sort of, you know, body awareness probably would have caught up with you. You know, it's not like
absolutely.
It hadn't been planted. You know, it's kind of something that is chasing all of us. And, you know, the book is kind of a long response to what happens when you put your children on a diet, but I also have sympathy with parents whose kids are, you know, overweight if they're looking at their, BMI or insurance chart,
right.
or
right.
as my parents, I imagine, were probably acting on the advice of a well-meaning pediatrician or something like that. And, you want the best for your kids. You don't want them ridiculed. You don't want them to have to buy special clothes. You don't, you want them to feel good in their bodies. Like, we've obviously come a long way and learned a lot about how to educate everyone about that stuff. But, it's not an easy thing. Teaching, even Michelle Obama caught some criticism for some of her emphasis on, moving and sort of weight loss and dieting and eating a certain amount aimed at kids. It's a sticky topic, and it's not an easy one. It's so fraught.
It's so fraught. I mean, I still laugh when I sit down with my girlfriends, and we've been together for so many years celebrating birthdays, and it's still the hot topic at the table after all these years. And I'm like, then don't get the bread. I mean, do we still have to discuss this? But I also have to laugh at a lot of this because it's it's so exaggerated, and but it is forever a part of the culture. And I do wonder really truly how much changes, and I know that you address that in the book of what the culture will tell us, what we want to tell ourselves, what we believe, and then what we really think when we're really being honest about how we feel in our bodies, or what we're projecting and what we're taking in. And I'm chatting with Marisa Meltzer. Visit marisameltzer.com for more information about her brand new book. It is just out. It is beyond fabulous. It's called This Is Big, How the Founder of Weight Watchers Changed the World and Me. And you can watch Marisa and fabulous Jill Kargman in conversation. Politics and Prose is broadcasting that tonight at 7 o'clock. So is it just on their Facebook page?
If you go to their events page on their website, it's like a Crowdcast, sort of the equivalent to Zoom. You click on it. It's actually a very nice setup where you can enter in questions and
very cool.
all of that. So yeah.
Well, definitely want to check that out tonight at 7 o'clock. Go to Politics and Prose Facebook page, click on events. I've been afraid to click on events on anybody's page because I'm like, it's so sad, the events. But there are different kinds of events.
I have to hand it to Politics and Prose.
They're amazing.
Seem to really get together their online events pretty quickly. And I've been hearing really positive things about attendance. And, I'm glad that my friends and family on the West Coast will be able to tune in, and I'll be doing
the good part,
other
right?
Instagram lives and stuff like that. Yeah, it's nice,
Even more people are going to have access to these interviews and to learn, and that's what we found on Reading with Robin, finding out about more books. People are hungry for more books, and you and Jill will be wildly entertaining. I've hosted Jill several times, and she's
amazing.
One of my favorite people. And this book is told with so much heart and humor that I'm really looking forward to speaking to you now and then watching you again. And what do you think Jean Nidetch would think of this book or of what's happened to Weight Watchers?
Oh, that's a great question. I hope that she would like the attention and would like that someone is raising her story up. I think that she really dealt in the second half, latter half of her life with being erased from the narrative of the company that she founded, which happened slowly and but also, pretty swiftly in a way. I mean, she literally is a footnote in Weight Watchers headquarters. There's a quote from her, in the floor of the lobby, and that's about it.
Sad. And
so I
that's
think she would have appreciated that. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. So no, I'm sure she would love it. I mean, who wouldn't want a book written with their story woven into another in a parallel, and so
But I
caring.
Also think that there's a lot in the book that she would probably have a hard time with having public. The book is not a hagiography. It's a story of a complicated woman who wasn't always doing what you'd like her to do. You root for her, but sometimes she sort of, does the wrong thing or seems like she has some poor instincts and isn't always able to sort of see reality and lives a little bit in her own fantasy life. And writing about that as a biographer is incredibly interesting and, juicy, but it's also probably sad, I would imagine, if she had to kind of see it. And
I wonder if she inherently knew all of, when you have all that time to yourself to sort of think, I always wonder, depending on, I guess, person's, where on the scale she fell, on a narcissism scale, how much you sort of admit, well, I might have done this differently, or this was, Weight Watchers was so important to her. Probably wouldn't be happy to know she was a footnote in the, or maybe she did know that she died in 15.
You have to also look at it through the lens of the sort of sexism of the time, where she was an uneducated woman who didn't always stand up for herself as much as, you would like her to, and kind of the ideal movie version. And, she was good at being like, oh, I'm not the business person. I'm not the brains behind this. And kind of, doubting her own self-worth. And so I don't know, I think it's hard to separate the kind of way that women were told to live their lives and see themselves with what she really thought. I do think that she would think that the current Weight Watchers is far too touchy-feely, far too accepting and easy. She loved the original program where you couldn't eat ketchup and you had to eat liver and, you had to have, 3 glasses of skim milk a day. And, it was rigid and it worked for her. And I don't think that she would understand this kind of current world of like everything's on the program.
Right. Yes. So what does Oprah say? Bread lover. And I'm like, don't show me the bread. I go running looking for some every time she sings that bread song. Yeah, and all of the technology. Yeah, the technology. Yeah. There's things have been simplified and more complicated. But what's really fascinating to me about your book, and I'm speaking with Marisa Meltzer and her brand new book, This Is Big, How the Founder of Weight Watchers Changed the World and Me, is out just today, is that no matter how many books and how many times this topic in every iteration has been written about, is endlessly fascinating and it speaks to people. You feel like it's just always new and it's always compelling. I just think this is a topic that I don't see a day when this is not in some way top front and center, right, on the news cycle and in what we're talking about in terms of lifestyle. And I was also reading, where you'd done so many interviews and you were sort of observing or, people let their guard down a bit and you see how really it affects everybody. Their food, they're eating, they're not eating, they're poking through, they are making a point of eating. It's just constantly.
Even in quarantine, right? Like everyone is talking about what they are eating, what they aren't eating, if they're doing exercise challenges, if they're not. I had a friend whose husband was like, let's do Whole30, we're going to emerge from this looking so hot. And she was like, absolutely not. And, I ordered so much from Russ and Daughters today, the appetizing, the bagel place. I have a busy week with the book launch, and I stocked my cupboards and spent so much money that I got a call from my bank for fraud notice.
That's hilarious.
And the tip and everything. And,
that's so funny. Miss Meltzer, we just want to check your card and make sure that, that somebody doesn't have it.
That is me. I wanted to be like, look, that was including a really expensive delivery fee and a tip, and this is supposed to last me 5 days, and whatever. It's like someone at my bank, they don't care. Yeah.
Exactly, but the need to sort of explain that. Yeah, I've done that. I read somewhere in the book too about ordering and having the extra utensils. Like, who hasn't done that? And everybody has a secret hiding place.
They throw so many in. It's like You really think that this turkey burger was for 4 people?
Excuse me. I'm fixed on what did you get from Russ and Daughters. So all the places in New York are delivering and all of that.
No, not
right?
all of them.
No, but a lot of them.
A lot of places are closed, but some have stayed open for delivery only.
Yeah.
And there's no contact delivery. And so, and Russ and Daughters, luckily, is one of them and delivers to me. And so I thought it would be a nice treat. I have plenty of fruits and vegetables, and so I got all of the smoked fish. And
you enjoy it. It's a big week. I mean, that's like a huge book tour week, and celebrate. And you want to celebrate. And the other thing too is, I was reading one of who I love, Ariel Berger, who wrote a book called Witness, and he was a student of Elie Wiesel, and his book Witness is sort of like a Tuesdays with Morrie. It's compared that way, but he posted at the beginning, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, to sort of, and other people have said this, go easy on yourself. Don't think you're going to organize the whole house or revamp your whole diet or do all these, a little bit of gentle, maybe some changes if you really feel that, but people kind of went into this boom. And
it's hard,
It is. You're under such stress, and now you're going to make a life change. I don't know. It doesn't sound. I'm not very hopeful for that.
I'm not either. I'm just trying not to go crazy, to raise my already slightly too high blood pressure or something like that. I'm not going to use this as a chance to eat bacon at every meal or something like that.
It's not a 4-week snowstorm or 2 months.
No, I was eating a lot of BLTs the first week or two, and then it was I don't know if lettuce and tomato on the sandwich is really enough.
But they're all little games. Yeah, it's all of these little things, but you're exactly right. When you look at what people are posting or doing their Instagram photos of, there's not a lot else to do, but a lot of people are baking who never baked. My sister posted sent a picture last night to my other sister and I. It was very sweet, but she made this cake that was our mom's favorite. She made it herself, and I said,
what
"Oh
kind
my
of
God,
cake was it?"
Maple walnut. I'll send you a picture.
Delicious.
And then it was amazing.
You're going to be I'm going to send you a piece.
I'll send you. I'll tag you it. Wait, what did you say? Did I miss a joke?
I thought that you were about to say I'll send you a piece, and I got so.
I wish.
No,
well, don't.
It doesn't make any sense, but my body got a little worked up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marissa. Well, the funny thing is when I was reading it out loud to my son.
Food motivated I am.
Me too. Well, I said to my son, look what Aunt Jen made. And he said, well, can't she send a piece? I said, well, under normal circumstances, she could, but we're in quarantine. And he was like, yeah, but I would trust it from Aunt Jen.
I'm not going to eat your quarantine cake. Yeah.
No quarantine. But the funny thing, here's where we're so different. I don't know what time she made it, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. This was 10. So I said, oh, my God, how was it? She's like, oh, we haven't cut it yet. I was like, what?
Wait, what?
Are you my sister? Yes. They just hadn't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, I had the Russ and Daughters chocolate babka in my house for about 5 minutes.
You don't. You have the chocolate babka from Russ and Daughters? Oh, my God.
Yes, that was part of the order.
I was thinking of fish and even better.
Oh, yeah,
you know what?
I got the fish and everything, but I also got the babka. I'm not crazy.
You clearly are plainly as sane as any of us. I'm going to order from Russ and Daughters when we're finished with this. I'm not kidding. I'm chatting with Marisa Meltzer, How the Founder of Weight Watchers Changed the World and Me. This is Big is just out with a great blurb on the front from Busy Phillips. And if I had my glasses, I could read it, but it was really great. And Jamie Attenberg, who I love, says, This is Big is brave, bold, funny, honest, riveting book that made me have every kind of feeling in the world. And Jamie's correct. I can't really say much more than Jamie can. And what do you hope that readers take from this book?
I hope that they rediscover or discover the story of Jean Nidetch and her complicated, brilliant life. I also hope that they see a new way of looking at dieting, body acceptance, and transformation. The idea that we each must individually figure out where we feel comfortable landing. We don't all have to be living and dieting and exercising as if our livelihoods depend on it, and but also to want to look better, to want to change your life, are not just ways of defeat. We don't also have to feel sorry for people that they're just not as enlightened or something because they're dieting. I think it urges us all to think a little bit deeper about what we want also from losing weight, what we think is going to be at the end of that scale, that pot of that rainbow with the scale on the other side, with the number that we desire.
That dream, really, and what does it mean? And it's not always what one might think from somebody who's been there up and down enough times to know, and really what it means, what the real essence is. And that's something I guess we're always sort of figuring out in terms of other things, but especially body image and, what it means at a certain point in life, and what takes precedence, and really being okay with whatever it is because it's one's own choice to make. And there's so many messages in this book, and it is a book for everybody. And it's called This is Big, Marisa Meltzer. Visit her at marisameltzer.com, on Twitter, on Instagram, How the Founder of Weight Watchers Changed the World and Me. And at 7 o'clock tonight, head over to Politics and Prose and get your seat.
8 o'clock.
Oh, good. Well, get your seat at 7 and then, have some popcorn.
Okay, great.
Standing room only. Thank you for that.
Make
8 o'clock tonight.
Nice drink, yeah.
Yes, take a drink, have a seat, call your best friend, let them know to also be on. At the same time, you can see everybody's comments. It's a big community. I'm going to make sure to post this to remind people. So 8 o'clock, Politics and Prose. I'm so used to things starting at 7. And Jill Kargman and In Conversation with Marisa Meltzer, that's a home run right there. Before I let you go, what is something you were obsessed with, either a book you've read recently or a TV series or movie that you're rewatching or watching?
I have been making my way through a lot of Peter Mail's books recently. He probably most famously wrote A Year in Provence. And they're kind of the closest you can get to going on vacation right now. And they're very kind of low stakes and soothing and involve a lot of wine and delicious meals and lavender and silk.
That's a great one.
And so I find them incredibly kind of soothing and comforting.
Anything that's comforting right now is really
Absolutely.
a win. And I wrote that one down because people are asking me for other people's favorites too. And it's a great way to travel right now. And I appreciate that. And I'm going to let you go because I know you have a schedule, although I could talk to you forever. It's Marisa Meltzer. This is Big. How the founder of Weight Watchers Changed the World and Me. I'm off to order from Russ and Daughters. And it was a pleasure to have you on Reading with Robin. Marisa, all the best with your wonderful tour and all the success with this amazing book. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's installment of the Reading with Robin podcast. As always, our full-length podcasts will be available right here on robincall.com. We appreciate your support and look forward to having you over next week when we chat with our next featured guest. Have a great week, and happy reading.